Uh, yeah, this course will be delivered by two people. Myself, I'll be doing the first part, part one, that is introduction to computing. So more of the technology part I'll be covering with the first 5 lectures. And the second part will be covered by Dr. Nuradi Jayasiri. She is from the Faculty Management of Finance, University of Colombo. So she will be covering mostly the MIS part of the course, like without the technology part, because I'm covering that. So to tell you about myself, I am Ajanta Tukorla. I'm an undergraduate from University of Colombo. I did my first degree in computer science, and my PhD is also from computer science. So I'm attached to University of Colombo School of Computing. I'm a senior lecturer there, and also currently I'm the deputy director of the, it's an institute actually under University of Colombo, so it's called School of Computing. So you can reach me through this email address, aja@ucsc.cmb.ac.lk. So that's all about myself. And as I told you, I'll be covering 5 lectures from today, and then Nuradi will be taking over from me. So what I'm planning to cover with you all, so that is, I have put 5 sessions, but some sessions may drag for another day as well, right? The first session I'm going to discuss, I have named it as computer networks. Of course, some of you all might be excited and probably think, okay, don't know whether you all are going to do a master's in computer science degree program. Really not, right? I will tell you like what I'm going to expect from you all there and what I'm going to teach you. Yeah, of course, yes, I am from a technology and a technical side, but I have named it as computer networks. There we will be talking about internet and cloud computing. That's what like main 2 topics which are related and which are based on computer networks. So here I'm not going to teach you the theories of computer networks, right? And any other technical further details, but we are going to look in the top level, like we are looking at how the technology is actually working, but not going very deeper. But then we are going to look in this course how for business process as well as for decision making, right? Because you all are, I'm seeing you all as executives or higher management, so that when you are taking decisions, so like how technology is going to play the role there, and then what sort of knowledge you should be having, right, in order to make proper decisions, right? So that is what. So yeah, most of these topics, I will be not going very deep into technical details, but of course there are some, and sometimes some of the slides I'll be explaining to you all. And then with respect to exams also, I will be telling certain things like whether these part will be like sort of examinable or not, right? So that also, if you come to lectures, you can listen to that as well and get a good idea about. The second topic or session that I'm going to discuss with you all is about software. So there's the software, open source software, and the free and open source software. That is also we are going to look as a second part. But first, what is software, the importance of software, what you should know about that. Again, it's very, very important today for decision making. And also like when you are investing, right? Because sometimes the software is more expensive than hardware. So then you have to make a proper justification, and you have to have a good knowledge to make a correct decision. And also like I'm taking you all with open source, like free and open source, like what competitive advantage you can take. And mostly like we will be talking about different licensing types as well. So that is very important to understand when you're doing business, where you can take competitive advantage, where you can't take competitive advantage. So those things also will be discussed. The third session is coming basically security, because you know, like you are using even today internet transactions, right? You might have done so many So then how secure that we can do a transaction over the internet, right? So then we are going to look here. We need little bit of theory, right? So that we will discuss that, the basic theory, the basic essences of like how this has been evolved and how this is really running on top of the internet with the security. And then we are going to look at it. What is a digital signature? What is a digital certificate? What is its role with the business? And what you should like, how you should use them, right? Actually, is doing transaction over the internet is safe or not, right? So that sort of discussion is going to happen. And also like we will talk about some good practices, right? Some recommendations and some tools that you can use to help yourself ease your certain headaches that you have with respect to security. So that is also a bit of a longer part that I'm going to discuss with you. And the fourth session, I'm going to discuss more, like these days people talks about like AI, artificial intelligence, and then fuzzy systems. So how this AI is going to give us some competitive advantage, what we can do with these systems and what we can't do as well, because don't expect that AI or whatever computer systems can do everything to you, right? It's really not the case. So that you should have a good understanding, because when you have certain, sometimes investing on certain projects, right? So you have to have a good idea on that. And finally, as time permits, new trends in computing, where I'll be talking about different aspects like Internet of Things, wearable, okay, surface computing, and other things that are coming, like we call augmented reality and things like that, like how we can use those technologies to get even in your business process, like how we can do marketing well, right? As well, like in augmented reality, there are so many nice ways of doing marketing right today. So because those technologies are available, so you can think of your businesses to go to a different dimension, to capture another segment of clients, so that how this digital platform or the IT or computing can help you. So those are the things we are going to discuss. Now, all these topics also have evolved because I think from the MBA program for last 10, 15, 20 years, like 15 years, I probably, I'm involved with this course, like, and mostly like in the weekend batches, but last year only I started with the weekday batch because of the time issue, but now somehow I can manage. That's what like I have agreed. So here, these topics are evolved through, actually, most of the topics have come from MBA students itself. Like, so how about this cloud company, what we can do, so what are the models, like what is the way to do business like there. So what are the advantages like that? When people ask, so I just try to create some set of slides and then try to explain. So it has evolved in that way. So all these topics have come basically to give you some understanding about technology to apply in your business processes, right? So that's where like I'll be discussing, and also like I prefer you all to have a discussion mode, right? So even though we are not face to face, like I prefer to discuss these things face to face, so that you will be more open. But however, even in online mode, because this current situation, there's no other way that we can continue except this online mode. So take to the maximum advantage. Yeah, please try to discuss with me. So because I'm trying to discuss these topics with you all openly. So because of that, rather than teaching, I would prefer if you all can come to the learning mode, so that to learn these concepts, or like misunderstanding or like some arguments you have with what I'm saying. So always come up and please unmute yourself and then ask questions. So I will take time for them and then try to clarify as well. So I prefer that mode. So rather than teaching, so of course I have the set of slides, I can keep on talking and just finish the lecture, but I prefer the other way around. So you all have engaged. That's what I said, like I will try my best to do all these 5, but however, so depending on certain batches I have seen, like, so they are more interactive. So that of course I will try to explain more and more on that, because that is very important, but you all need. So when you're asking questions also, rather than putting on the chat box, because I might not be able to, like while I'm speaking here, to go there and have a look. So maybe you can unmute yourself and then you can ask questions. That's no problem. I'm always encouraging that. But of course, when two people are speaking, so always other person, please try to wait one person finishes, and then of course you can ask your question as well. And I will take the time and explain to you all. So that's what I prefer in these 5 lectures that I'm going to discuss with you all. And Dr. Nooradi will be covering the management information systems, right? So these 5 topics, so she will be covering. So I am covering the related technology for these topics as well as some other things, right? So that, so here, this will be from a textbook, right? So that's what, like in my part, I'll come here quickly. I have recommended a textbook, but however, it's not a compulsory textbook, because as I told you how this has been evolved, this was just one of the textbook because the management faculty requested me to recommend some book, right? So I said, okay, this is one book, like if anyone who is trying to understand IT tech computing, right? So that's what I have recommended, this book. But of course, internet and other magazines will give you enough knowledge on these topics that I'm talking about. But Dr. Nooradi will be using these 2 textbooks. That's so she will further explain when she comes and starts lectures from 6 weeks onward. So she will be using these 2 textbooks. So going back, so this is how this course, I'm doing part 1. So I'll be giving you some presentations as well. So again, probably if the COVID continues, we might have to do the presentations also online. So that is one thing. I want to know, like, how many groups are there in your batch. So please, that you can put on the chat box, right? How many groups are there in the total, like, weekday program, so that I know how many topics I have to get ready for you all, so that I will discuss about that next week, right? So then I will give you some time, and then of course your program coordinator will inform, like, when the presentations are due, right? So that, however, you will be getting 25% of the total marks, and from the exam paper, 25 marks. So basically, I'm responsible for 50% of your whole exam paper, right? And part 2, Dr. Nooradi, so she will also explain how her part, like she is going to work with a group project or group report, so that she will explain. That will be also, you will be able to earn about 25%, and the exam paper also 25%. So there will be 3 questions you have to answer 2, right? So sometimes it can be one answer compulsory, and out of the other 2, you have to answer only 1, right? Sometimes I used to give, like, out of 3, any 2, right? So that somehow you have to answer only 2 questions from each section, that we give 3 questions, right? And then that will be like the 2 hours, like sort of like 2 questions from each, right? So this is how the course is going to be, right? And yeah, please update me the number of groups that you have, right? And then each group will be getting a topic, and I will be giving more details about that next week, not this week, so that how the presentations and the report will be, should be consistent. But these are more onto technology side, so that's what I am there. So basically, I will try to help you all also with the group project presentations, like, because if you need some help, that I am also always ready to give that. But because I will be also evaluating you all, right? So that one thing, that how you are using the technology, and then how good you are in that. And also, like, I try to invite another faculty member, right? So that he or she will be also evaluating you, so that they will be looking at from a different angle about the use of technology with the MBA students. So that's how, like, that plan is going to be. So this is about the course, right? If you have any questions or any things that you want to clarify before we start, yeah, you can do that now. So you have 11 groups, okay.
Yes, sir.
So if they don't have any questions from the course structure, so I will start my presentations, day one. I hope you all have got these slides. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when I'm giving also slides, okay, I have certain concerns, like you might have got two versions. One is like as it is, the slides that I am presenting you all, I have given you the slides in color form, right? That is for reference only, so electronic form. But if you are printing, you can use the other format that I have given, because that is, I have made it black and white so that no unwanted toner will be coming out because of the other images and the text, that whatever the things that I have put on the slides. And also like I have made it 2 pages per sheet. So that's what like I am giving, right? One is for printing. If you want, like, it's always like when I do also, like I have seen that people take a printout and then basically write down, because remember, these are slides for me to do the lecture, right? This is not the whole note as such. So the note will be coming as we go on with the lecture, right? So that's, and also like I will get a lot of feedback from you all, and then with that, the discussion will continue as well, as I told you earlier. So because of that, yeah, you have to get involved with me, as well as you have to write down certain things. And then as we go on in the slides as well, I will tell like what sort of questions I'll be asking in the exam as well. Some hints will be coming. And also like then when you give answers as well, I will assess and give you, okay, this is what my expectation, and this is what, like how much marks you will get for that particular answer. So then you will get understanding, like, okay, what is my expectation? Because of course, after doing this course, and because I'm responsible for 50% of your paper, so then like what sort of challenge you are going to face with me. But of course, I believe that, I assume that it is an easy subject for you all, right? And I will try my best to make it so that I try to help you all to get a better grade as well. So keeping with that, I will start my lecture. Okay, next slide is basically, we are coming a little bit later, because before that, I'm going to ask few questions now from you all. So I need your answers. First of all, my question is, why do we need computer networks, or what is the importance of computer networks? I can ask in different ways, like this can be kind of maybe an exam paper question as well. What is the role of the computer networks? Do we really need computer networks? What advantage you are going to get by using computer networks? So all
Sharing information.
very good. So like I will give you full marks, right? Sharing resources or sharing information. So that is what basically the computer networks are there, right? So now I will take white screen and I will start explaining that with respect to that. So if you have one computer here, right? Let's assume this is one computer called A, and then there is another computer called B. So then when we interconnect them, so I can interconnect whatever the way, right? Okay, so that's interconnection, right? So whenever we interconnect, so we create a network, right? So this network, we call, there are different words. That this network is being used for so many other things, like data networks, power networks, right? Water networks, whatever. So because that we call computer network. So computer network is basically connecting, so that the advantage here, is basically we are sharing resources. So if I ask why, like let's say we have a printer here, right? Very so double side color printer, right? So each of these people we can't give a printer because this is very expensive, this printer, right? So what we do is we connect them to the network so that maybe several people, maybe hundreds of people can send their print jobs, right? So then that's what, like we said, sharing resources, right? So it's not always copying your assignment to the other person, right? So that is plagiarism, right? So however, you can copy files or whatever, that doesn't matter. Like that is also coming under this. But yes, you can have a scanner, special scanner that also been connected. So everyone can use this scanner to do their work. So that's where, like in your organization, rather than buying printers to each and every desktop, like let's say we have 100 numbers, right? So then rather than buying 100 printers, because of course you can do that, right? And then, you know, like waste of toner, right? And then because after, let's say some out of this 100, like 20 people are very rarely prints, and then the toner get expired, and of course then you are waste of money as well, right? So when you're having a shared resource, right, that will be, you can optimize that your investment as well. So that's what, like we are looking at, right? So there's a lot of advantages we can get through networks. So computer networks provide us that, but also connectivity and all the other things are also there. Now, yeah, computer networks is that. That's why, like, I'm not going to teach you like different types of computer networks, right? Bus networks, star networks. So those things will never come to your exam paper or whatever I'm expecting. But if you all know them, that will be all right. But there are different types of networks. So here also, like, I will not ask what is this network, right? That kind of thing. So as long as for me, like I will later on draw like network like this, I will say this is a network, right? So then, you know, okay, so there are computers here, they are somehow interconnected. So that's where like the IT guys has to look after, right? But we know what we can do here. Right, so that is the first question, and to get you some idea about computer networks. Now, I will ask, what is then the next term I'm going to put here is what we call internet. What is internet? We have discussed now computer network. Yeah, when you ask questions, when I ask questions also, I prefer like you can give whatever you feel, because I don't want you all to give the right answer, because that is not the part of learning. Because if you give a wrong answer, right, I can explain why it is wrong as well, right? That's why, like, yeah.
Internet is like a way to connect to people outside your network or something like that.
So that means you have a network here. So
Yeah.
you have another outside person or another network. So you want to connect them. That's you need internet. Okay, I will take that as one answer. Any other?
And so everybody can access.
Everybody can access. Like network is also like, if I say, so what is the difference between then a computer network and, so this is I will put CN here. This is a computer network, right? So everybody can access this also, right? So why do you want to say that internet is something different, or like that's what I want to get like clarified with these two terms. Any other?
It's a kind of a cyberspace where a lot of individuals and institutions have shared the information. Where any individual or another organization can get into and you know, take whatever the relevant information there.
Okay. Yeah. That I will keep that answer also. Okay. Any other?
It's sort of a connecting people and sharing information and communicating with anyone from anywhere.
Yeah, that's right. But only thing is, I'm just trying to get with you all the difference between a computer network and the internet. That's like So I would just like you all are giving. So if I ask, is it applicable to computer networks as well? What do you say? Or someone can say no, so like computer network and internet is same. That's what like, so then it's really not, right? So that's what like we have two terms as well.
So like the global connecting system.
Okay, yes, yes.
So
So
internet
you
can
you
be
can you can say that a network is and kind of an internal thing where internet is, which is based on a lot of wired connection, and
Okay.
network internet is where any individual or institution can get into the access the information or data without wired connection.
Okay. It's
so
100.
internet can
Yeah.
be used for computer networking.
Internet can be used for computer networking. Yeah, that is also a good answer. The previous answer, yeah, it's not only wired, like it can be wireless, right? So need not to be only wired, internet has to be. So we will talk about that today detail, right? But just I'm trying to get your ideas, that's where your doubts, right? On that, with some of the answers that gave throughout, like someone said global thing, these are coming, right? So we will see like how they are going to be related. So I will now take this term internet. Okay, so I will say this is a computer network, right? This is just like there can be even 100 users, right? A network. This can be another computer network. I would see into that. It can be 250 people, right? So when I connect these two, what is this? This is a computer network. This is a computer network. When you connect these two computer networks, what will happen? Yeah.
Connected with the two of the
It
computers.
could be another connected network.
That's another network. This is also another computer network.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is like now, how can I say? I will put here now I am putting some notations. Don't worry. This is not a mathematical equation, right? This is like combination of that is also a computer network. Okay. Now I will use, someone use that term as well. Right. Is this an interconnected network? Is that correct? This is a network. This is a network. This is the interconnected network.
Yeah.
Now what will happen? So actually internet is a term that is coming from these two words, interconnected networks. So yes, internet is also a network, right? That's what I just tried to show you like it's wrong, right? But it's an interconnected network, right? So then someone can ask, is it only two? No, it can be many, right? Thousands, millions, whatever you can, as you can, right? So like someone use the word, I will come there, global, right? This is the biggest sort of, right? So there are things like you can keep on interconnecting. So this is another network, right? And it connects to another network. This connects with that, this connects with that, right? Still it is a interconnected network. So this is what we call an internet. So internet is nothing but it's a computer network, but interconnected network. So the size can be bigger, right? It is not as a small network, it can be a bigger. And as I said here, like, or as someone said here, it can be a bigger one. It's a global thing also can be. Okay, so internet is that. So with that now I will start a quiz, right, with you all, right? So this is my question. I think you all can see this, right? So when you refer internet, right? So which term do you use to refer? Say dot 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 means internet, right? So then when you refer internet, how do you write that? There are three words I have put, right? So you can give your vote, whatever you are using, right? So I'm asking when you refer that term internet, so how do you use, right? So can we have a quick vote, everyone? So this is in a way you will get engaged as well. So I can give you about 1 minute for you all to do, but there are about, at the moment, we have 50 people logged in, right? So out of that, 32 people have just voted as of now. So how about others? Okay. Shall I count for another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? Okay, out of 49 people, 43 have voted. Okay, I will end the poll, right? And so I will share the result. This is what, so 53% said capital I with internet. 40% said just with simple I internet, and 7%, that 3 people have said intranet as well. Okay, so I will stop that and then clear this, right? And then that's what, like, we want to use these 2 terms, internet like this or internet like this. So I will say call this is A, this is B, right? Remember, so I said these are computer networks, right? When you connect that, that will be another network, right? But this is interconnected network, so it is an internet. So likewise, we can keep on interconnecting, right? All the networks. And as someone said, let's try to get the biggest one, the global one, right? So global one, right? So when they refer that, that is what we call this B internet, right? So always we say internet is to this, the global one. Okay. So then because there is only one, right? So there's only one such big network. Okay. That's what we say, the internet. So remember, when we refer that, we always use capital I. Right? So it's need not to be starting a sentence, but inside the sentence also when you refer internet, and if you are referring this global internet, right? So that will be there. So then someone can ask, what is this then? So then this is just another 2 networks like, and then you interconnect. So we can say just an internet, because an internet, there can be so many such internets, right? But when you connect each and every, and when we have the right biggest or one such right big network, that is what called the internet. So that's why, like, sometimes confusing, people use simple I with that to refer that global thing, right? So you should always try to use the capital I. This is where, like, there are 3 people who are said. So let's say this is like, I will take Mass, right? So Mass Colombo, Mass Candy, right? And they are interconnected. So we can say this is mass internet, right? But let's say they don't connect it to the internet, right? They can't access Facebook, no YouTube, nothing. But they have their ERP solutions, their email servers within them. So if they are their own web servers, everything is there, right? But that is on mass internet. So that's where I like to make sure that that we don't confuse. We use the word intranet. So we call that is the mass intranet, or like Bank of Ceylon intranet, right? Or Haley's intranet, whatever, Colombo University intranet, we can say. So intranet is a smaller interconnected network, right? And with capital I, internet is the global interconnected network. Is that clear? Or any doubts, please ask. That's what, like, you can say, what about this, and that, right? So yeah, internet is a term that is coming with interconnected networks, right? So that's where, like, this is the sort of a common term, like, to refer that, right? But there can be so many internets like that, but we have only one such internet globally, right? So yes, now what you all also did to come to this lecture, I am from home connected and then giving these lectures, and then different of you all, right, are connecting to this internet because we are putting that into this internet. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Any questions you can ask? Okay, so with that, I try to clarify to you all computer networks, and then with that, the term internet, and then finally, what is the internet that we call the globally the biggest network, right? So with that, I think I can now start the lecture. The first slide is all about that. So what is the internet, right? With capital I have asked, right? So it is the largest network of networks in the world. So where is actually, if I ask, I would say that in the world, but someone can say on Earth, that is also correct. Because we don't know under Jupiter or Saturn also have another network, right? We know on Earth, this is the biggest network or largest, right? Network of networks, right? Interconnected network is what we call internet. That's what we refer the internet. Okay, so if I ask in the exam also, what is meant by the internet? So don't say it's interconnected networks, because if I use it simple I, then you can say that's a term, and there can be so many of such internets, right, around the world, right, or different places. But if I use with capital I, what is meant by the internet, so that is the largest net of networks or interconnected networks. You might say on world or like on Earth or whatever, right? Or that someone say globally, right? So that's what we say globally, and so it's not like in one area, like covering India, Sri Lanka, China, Japan, right? Maybe just whole world, right? Then the second, okay, it's just like this. So you can see just a small diagram here is to show that this is the sort of my world, right? I'm just showing that they are interconnected, and that is what we call internet, right? So internet is this, right? You can't really sort of touch, because like it's just, it has cables, of course you can, it's tangible, but however, that's like a big thing, right? Then the next bullet, it says it uses TCP/IP protocols, right? Now, first of all, a lot of people think, okay, this is more technical, right? Okay, that's what I don't want you all to know about that, right? Like I will not ask what is stand for TCP, what IP stand for, right? You will of course learn that as we go on, but that is not my part to test from you all. But what is meant by a protocol? First, shall we start with this? So what do you think? What is a protocol?
A certain like limitation to do something.
Limitation to do something? Really not, right?
Way of doing something.
Standardized procedure.
Yes, procedure, standardized procedure. Okay, good. Anything else that?
A set of guidelines.
Set of guidelines. Very good. Set of guidelines, right? So that is set of guidelines. So how to operate, right? So that's what I said, set of guidelines I have given during my 5 lectures, how you should behave, right? So then that's what the guidelines I have given. So you can use that guideline set. So that's maybe sometimes understood, right? So that is what a protocol is, right? Sometimes we used to call it a common language, right? That is what meant by what a protocol is. So these things you can write it down, and as we explained, right? So yeah, so in the exam also I might ask like, why do you need protocols, right? Now we are talking about networks, right? Computer networks. Now my next question is like for computer networks, why do we need protocols? Yeah. Why do we need protocols?
Because everybody try to access, so thereby we should have a proper guideline to
Proper guideline, because there are so many people connected here, right? So then how to control sort of, right? Okay, good.
And to protect the data and information of the service or facility providers.
Yes, there are some protocols for that's a protocol is like there are so many that's what here SC is there, right? So there are some protocols to do certain things, some protocols to protect you, right? That's where like security protocols are there, right? Likewise, yes, you are right. Yes, there are so many protocols, like I will come there. That's right. That is also correct answer. Any other? Okay, now I will take that particular example I took initially as well. That's like computer A, and this is computer B, right? And then this is our printer, right? So these are interconnected. Okay. Now, when we have two computers and printer, like very simplest, this is the smallest network sort of course, with one computer, also with printer, when you connect, we call it a network, right? So at home, you can have a network, but of course, if you use normal printer cable, right, which is we call the serial cable or the USB cable, so that is not proper network, right, because that is you are only connecting, so A or B is connected to the printer. But when you are connecting in this mode, right, even with one computer, that we can call, it's a network environment. So in this kind of a scenario here, so that you gave me some what is the role of the protocol here. So actually on this particular scenario, what the protocol is trying to do, like why do you need protocols here?
Sharing the resource.
Sharing the resources, that means you are saying sharing the resources via protocols.
In a case where both are using the resource concurrently.
Okay, concurrently. So how to control that, like who to give? Yeah, because if not, like one paper, like one part is from A, one part from B, you can't get that, right? Yeah, that is also right. Yes.
So to identify the machine, the guideline commands.
Yes, very good, commands. Because now that's what I'm going to come, like we are slowly going inside now, because we know computer networks can understand one language. This is what that language is called. We call binary, right? So that's all, like this is computer language. Now, even though this is binary language, right? So there has to be some way to control this, like as someone, the person also said, like, now if let's say A is giving an instruction, I put a star here. So he says, print this 10 pages, double side with portrait, right? Not landscape, right? So like, so this is the instruction, right? So when the instruction goes here and the printer prints in 20 pages, single side and landscape, right? So you are totally upset because this is what not the command you gave, right? You are not done that. So this is where like a protocol is there to get that work done. That's where like earlier some answers also came. That's what I said is correct, right? So protocol's role is to get that work done. So the protocol is required to communicate between, because these are interconnected devices. By the way, remember computers are dumb machines, right? It can't do anything by itself. We have to tell everything, right? So we say computers are smart. There's AI and everything. We'll talk about that at that time. But however, hardware, the box is just a dumb device, right? We have to give instructions. That's where like software, I said earlier, my second topic, like it's the main part, because without software, the hardware, there's no value at all. So this, even though the software to run, so if without these protocols, it will not do the job, right? So yes, protocol is a common language, right? Or set of guidelines to do work, right? So this is a print protocol. There can be someone said like security protocol. There can be some sharing protocol. So whatever said and done. So this is what the role of a protocol, right? To work it as a common language so that instructions that are being given by those, and also like the some person who said here, like when two people are sending, right? So how to control that, right? So that is what, okay, I will, since you said that, this is what we call how our computer networks, like we call CSMACD, right? Networks are working. So this is just, since you tell that, I'm just telling this is not your syllabus, so I'm not expecting you to understand or learn that. But yes, there are, like if there are 100 people, how to use this common shared resource, there are a lot of protocols like that, right? So now coming back, so to clear first here. Coming back, so I said internet uses this TCP/IP is a name, by the way, right? So it's like my name Ajanta or Saman Kamal PL, right? Or Sri Lanka, right? Like that, this is a name, right? So don't worry too much. This is, someone can say, isn't it, sir? This is a protocol, this is a protocol, this is a combination of these two protocols. Yes, kind of, but when you put the slash, it's a name given, because actually this is, we call TCP/IP protocol suite. Protocol suite, because that's a collection of protocols, right? A collection of protocols. So don't think that TCP/IP is two protocols. That's wrong, right? But I am not going to ask you to tell me the difference between TCP and IP, right? That is not your part, right? That is IT guy should know. But TCP/IP is a name of a protocol, right? That is the common language we use inside the internet. Okay. So now think you all are business owners or CEOs, right? I am a business guy, marketing guy. I am coming to your company and say, sir, I have a nice printer, right? Which you can now these days, like, okay, I will say HP printers or whatever, these printers are very expensive, and you know, per page cost is rupees, let's say 1 rupee per page, right? So in our, this is a new printer like we have developed, right? This is just only 50 cents that it charged, right? And it's very good, right? And see here the quality. So everything I can do, all the marketing, right? And I said, okay, that's like we are spending about 1 rupee per page. Now this guy's printer is 50 cents, right? So shall we buy that, right? So then I can ask, can we, like, we don't, like we have 100 people in our network, right? How can we share that? Okay, that is possible. So like, this is shareable, like you can print over the network, that we can do that. So that that's no problem, right? But then you might think, okay, everything is all right. But the thing is, remember, this is the common language, right? So the thing is, someone can have a proprietary, right, their own protocol and print this, right? So of course they said, okay, since you are buying, so you have 100 computers, okay, we are giving 100 software licenses, right? Without that part will probably not tell you all as well, but make sure that all the 100 people will be able to print, because they have installed that software, right? So S1, S2 up to S100, right? So that is, it is working. Now, later on, you will see that your network is been expanded. Another building you now hired, and now you are going to put another 250 people and see whether you can get these people also trying to get. So then this hardware guy or this printer guy can say, so you can print them, but only thing is you have to buy some software licenses to print, because I have given you with that initial only 100 licenses, right? So then when you ask, okay, what are the licenses for that? So that can be more expensive. Than later on, you might be spending more than 1 rupee per page as well. So these can be situations. That's because when you ask this particular printer, right, you should ask whether it's TCP/IP, right? So then we know that that is the internet technology. So then later on, your US head office also want to send some print jobs over the internet, they can send. Because if not, like you have to say, no, you have to install some software in that particular computer, then only you can print, right? So you can see, this is where you have to be very careful when decision-making process, right? Because hardware always goes with software. So knowing about TCP/IP, very good thing is, because this is the common language that we use on the internet. That is the global, right? This is the internet, right? So if you are using that, that's no issue, right? Because your computers are supporting, because your operating systems, that is that Windows 10 or whatever 8 that what we are using, that is supporting TCP/IP, right? So that is where like you can just connect and get your work done, right? So that's another important point. So that is one thing I want to teach you, like, okay, the TCP/IP. So this TCP/IP is the common language that we use inside the internet, right? So if you are trying to buy any device, that which is, someone says this is connected through internet, that's all right. Make sure that it is TCP/IP protocol that it is using, not anything else, right? Today, a lot of equipment are like that. Right? I just took an extreme example, right? So don't get so scared of that will happen, but you should have that knowledge because that is very important to understand, right? Yeah, if there are any questions, please do ask. Then, okay. Have you heard about this term, web? Right? And then we discuss about another term called internet, right? So if I take now A and B, right, these two, right? What do you feel like? Is this two things or one thing, right? That's what I want to know from you all, right? So web, or sometimes we call WWWSL to this, World Wide Web, right? Or for shorten, we say web, right? So we'll see like what you all feel on that. I will get that poll. So now you have another poll going on, right? Where I'm asking the two terms, internet and World Wide Web, is the same or completely different, or just you can say I have no idea, right? So we'll see what you all feel about these two terms. I don't think about my lecture and try to answer, but just whatever you feel, right? That's what, like, then I will see whether I can explain you the importance and whether it's same or different, or if not, like something else, right? That we can understand. Yeah, that's about another 18 people to answer. When I hit 40, I will say countdown, 38. Stopped at 38. So how about others? Are some people sleeping? Okay, 39, 40. Okay, I will end up here. So if I share the results, 29 people or 71% who polled said, yes, it's different, completely different. But 24% said, no, it's same, right? And there are 5% people said, okay, no idea. Okay, so that's all right. We'll try to discuss that as well. Now, web and internet. Yeah, it's two terms. First of all, I will try to explain that with a small diagram here. This is just nothing. This is not a network, right? This is a road infrastructure. And these are the vehicles that runs on this, right? Cars, lorries, buses, whatever, right? So you can see the cars, lorries, buses have no value, right? It has to be parked at your places, but if we don't have a infrastructure, road infrastructure, right? Having road infrastructure, we won't get anything delivered to your doorstep, right? Because we need vehicles. So similarly, internet is the infrastructure, right? And this is an application which runs on top of the internet, right? So web is an application that runs on top of the internet. So internet is the infrastructure. So then with capital I, what we are saying is that is the global infrastructure, the biggest on earth, right? There is a big network that we have, and that is what we call the internet, right? But you can't watch a teledrama or you can't watch YouTube on that because it will be delivered through web. So web is an application, right? So now I said applications that are running applications that runs on top of the internet, right? So now you know web or World Wide Web is one such. Any other applications that you can think of or that you know that will be running on top of internet? Can you all, maybe I can ask in the exam, right? Write down 3 applications that runs on the internet. So these kind of things I will be asking, right? So then you have to, that's why like, it is not in my note as well. So you have to come, you have to listen, and then you have to engage, right? That's why like, so that's what I said, like you have to involve with me, right? So you can tell now, right? Right, wrong, correct, wrong answers. Any other applications you can think? Yes.
Sir, URL.
Now URL is part of web, right? And I'm going to talk about that. So yeah, it's not exactly this, right? So I will talk about URL separately, but it is related to web. Okay.
So Google.
Google is also web, right? Because Google is a search engine, right? That is also I have in my note, right? But so now let's say you have written web URL Google, you get only 1 mark. Okay, I'm not going to tell you like, that's what I said. I will tell you like, so because that is not the correct answer. This is one of those, these are examples of them, right? So, okay, come on. Any other applications that you can think that is running on top of the internet other than World Wide Web or web? You are using, right? So don't think this is not like rocket science, right? You are using most of the time.
So app.
So WhatsApp.
WhatsApp, okay, it's an application, but it's a, yeah, it's basically not a web-based thing. So I can say WhatsApp like application, but then WhatsApp, Facebook, like, because Facebook is actually, I can say it's a straight away, it runs on the internet web, because that you have to a web browser. But if it is running on a web browser, yeah, that is, it's here, right? But WhatsApp is a separate application. So yes, someone was trying to, I was
emails.
Very good, email, right? Because email is, by the way, someone can argue with me. So how can you say that email is that? Because yes, when you are using Gmail, it's web-based. But when you are using Outlook or some other email service with the application, right? That's why like you have to think now, if you are using with on a web browser, that is all web, right? But that's what I said, WhatsApp is the correct answer, right? But then email, yes, there are 2 parts of email, right? That's why like in the exam, I can ask, categorize this, whether it's on web or not, right? So email, no, but Gmail, Hotmail, Yahoo Mail, yes, it is web-based. Okay, that's a good thing, right? So I will just put here, not Gmail, I will, so then you can remember that.
So if those if those Yahoo Mails and Hotmails have separate applications instead of the web browser, then it's internet-based.
Yeah. But however, Gmail always, then Hotmail we are using on a web browser, right? So because of that, they are under web.
Sir, SharePoint or Cloud?
Yes, these are separate applications. That SharePoint, yes, you are right. What else?
So do we call this as Internet of Things?
No, very good. Internet of Things is something else, like towards the last lecture, I'm trying to discuss that. Yeah, Internet of Things is not this, IoT, right? Internet of Things means like anything on internet, that's what it says, like we'll discuss it. So I will say at the moment, no. IoT is not an application as such, on which runs on internet. Anything else that you might be using?
Voice calls?
Yes, yeah, video conferencing, VC, right? Or like someone can say Zoom, because that is a separate application, but some it is running on web browser as well, because you can run this Zoom without the Zoom app installed, right? Then it will be on a web-based thing. But how many people here play games like computer games we call, right? Computer games. Screen comes to the end, so it's a bit difficult.
Sir, Lotus Notes.
Yeah, that is correct. Computer games.
So how about these softwares like AnyDesk or
Yeah, AnyDesk is also, yes, it's an application. That's right. Yeah, I can take that. If you give in the exam paper, yeah, that's a correct answer, right? Because, yeah, other than web, I would say email is a very good example, right? That is, but not Gmail, right? And then video conferencing, right? And Zoom kind of things, and computer games, right? And then SharePoint, WhatsApp, like those, right? Other applications. So these are different applications. Remember, without internet, they will be not working, right? That's what I said. It is the infrastructure. So you need that infrastructure. So remember, you are getting, let's say, you want to now, let's say, because of my lecture, you are going to lose a teledrama, right? Just assume, right? But then you can get that later on. That is also another application to these days that we call VOD, video on demand, right? So that is also, but only thing is that you will be using web, because of that video on demand is also part of web now. You can download that, right? But internet is required for you to get connected, because this is a network. This is like whatever that content network, this is your network, right? This is someone said earlier as well. So that how you connect to that, that is what internet is all about. That's true, right? But internet is the global one, right? But having internet, yes, you can connect to that. So now once you connect, remember, you won't get that, right? If you connect to internet, you won't get this lecture, right? Then you have to open Zoom application and run it. And then that's where, like I have given the link, with that only it will be starting. So is that clear?
So then what about the some softwares when it comes to in the organizations, they have each separate platforms, no, like systems. So is it come under this criteria or how?
Okay, good question. Okay, since yeah, that I have already explained that part in a different way. Now let's say you have a ERP solution. Okay, you have a ERP solution, right? So that will be running only on your network. That is, we call intranet now, right? So intranet. So it is running on the internet ERP. So that is what, like when you come home, you can't access that because it does not support, because you have to connect to this network, right? Because through internet, it is not, because you are not connected to internet because for some other reasons, right? Or security reasons or whatever your company policies, right? So you are not. So that is what from home, you can't do that. But these days, when we work from home, people have extended that so that we can put here firewalls and try to extend that and give only to access from home, right? That is, you are extending the internet up to your home, right? But you need to have a connectivity, right? So that, like you can get that. So yes, there are some software, right? These are intranet, right? But here I was just talking with respect to internet, right? What application, but even here, because let's say this is Haley's, right? I'll take Haley's or whatever mask, right? This is just the name that comes to my mouth, right? So that's not, I have not any link to that. Yeah, if Haley's or mask can extend, put a network cable somehow, right? And get it your home, that will be basically internet is extending, but no one can do that. Right? Let's say your office is at Horana and then you are in, let's say Kandy, right? So no one can put a cable like that because you can't dig roads and put that, right? That's where like ISPs are coming. So that's where like through ISP, you have to get that link. So that's somehow you can get it, right? So that is how like we do these days, like we are allowing some people to access from some other remote locations to your intranet, right? But you are extending that. Your question, like here we were talking about more common applications that will be run on the internet. Yes, this is also right answer. Like, but if I ask on internet, probably some of these things may not. But however, if you give that that sort of an answer in the exam. Of course, I will give that because that is also correct, but not perfectly correct, because if it is, because I also don't know whether it's, then you have to say this is connected via internet, right? Because this particular software, so that will be all right, because if not, like it is internet software. Hope I have cleared your question. Yeah, any other? Okay, so that's what my third bullet, right? So the internet today is a widespread information infrastructure, right? So if I ask what is internet, internet, don't say it's an application, right? It is an infrastructure. This is where like you can see the infrastructure, right? I will show you in the next few slides like how big that infrastructure is, then how it is being done, right? But the infrastructure is okay, there, but then we have to have applications to get used to do day-to-day work. So your day-to-day work are coming through applications. So these are our, we do that, right? So in a way, if you say today I have to connect to internet to listen to the MIS lecture, that is true because you went through internet, but of course you use Zoom application. So through Zoom only, you were able to connect with me and listen to this lecture, right? So internet helped you, but if you say just internet did that, it's not perfect. It's not correct, right? Because internet helped you to get the connectivity, but the Zoom application is what, right? Because someone can say, if you have internet, you can do all these things, right? That's true. But only thing is, such applications has to be there. Someone say, no, I can't do that because that particular application might not be available to that particular person. Okay, this part of the slide is just, okay, sorry. It's basically for people who want to read something, right? Because we talked about internet, right? Actually, if you just Google on this topic, right? Brief history of the internet. So you can get, there's a paper, research paper written, and these are the people actually who invented the internet, right? Vint Cerf, Bob Kahn, and then so many other people, right? So these are the people, these are the fathers of the internet, right? But then fathers of the internet is not the fathers of the web, because web might have invented by someone else, right? That's where like you have to understand, if not, we will get confused. Like I'm talking about some guys here as fathers of the internet, then who is this guy, right? So that guy might have, like, let's say now Facebook is not invented by none of these people. That's an application which runs on this internet, right? Okay, so this is like, don't worry, like small text, if you can't read, whether I will ask in the exam paper, no, right? This is for you to read, right? If you have time, if you're interested, like why they created this network and so on. Okay, so this is what we call the internet, right? And the World Wide Web, or web, how it works. Now, web, always there's a client. Now, this is a special mode that we operate. Always clients makes a request with a server, and server has to be running 24/7, right? So then only, like, that is what we call a server. If not, it is just a computer, right? Because server computer difference is it is running 24/7. That is, we call it's in the listening mode because requests are coming, and then it will respond to you, right? To the client, whatever is being requested. Sorry. So that is how this World Wide Web works, right? Using the internet. So you can see, yeah, this is not a cloud, by the way. This is the TCP/IP network. That is internet, right? That refers to that. Network means internet. And this can be you at home now, right? This can be a server like your LMS server, right? You can connect to and get my notes, right? So what you do here is, a small animation. So you make a request from your web browser. That's where like you type LMS dot whatever. There's a URL for your LMS server, and then you type that on the web browser. That is that we call client browser is what we call web browser. right? Like your Chrome or your IE, right? Browser, whatever it can be. There are so many other browsers as well. You can use one of those, right? And then you make a request, right? So I'll clear this now. So you make a request, right? Then the request will go to the server. Server will fetch it inside, right? Whatever you are asking, there's a server process happens. And with that, server creates what the page has to be given. This can be my note PDF file. So then that PDF file will come to your computer, right? As a response, right? So then only you will be displaying the PDF in this computer. Remember, the PDF has come. So this is a request. And this is a reply. Okay. So this is what, like we say, you need bandwidth, you need data, right? To watch this or see this, because it has to come. A lot of people think, no, we are connecting to the server and we are seeing. No, server is there to process the incoming request, and based on the request, what we are asking, to respond that with that data. It can be a video file. So then the video file has to come. So then you need more bandwidth to get that, right? So this will be displayed or play or run it on your computer, right? So that is what happened, right? So that will be run on the local machine, or I would say local in the sense client PC. Okay, so this is the internet architecture. For this we call client server architecture. Because always a server has to be there. That's why, like, always we have to set up a server. Someone says like, so we want to do this and that on the internet. How can we do that? First of all, you have to set up a server and make sure that it is running 24/7, right? So that's where, like, you have to make sure that the computer is running. There's enough power, enough air conditioning, people to look after, right? Hard disks, everything working fine. Then only you can operate that 24/7. Later, we'll talk about towards the end of this lecture note, like how we can use cloud for that, and then try to take some advantage, or whether it's disadvantage or whatever, we'll discuss that. But yeah, without cloud, now just you have to have a machine. That is what a special machine, that's what we call, it's a server, right? So that will be running throughout. So then any client will be requesting and the reply goes. So it works as a client server model. Is that clear? Okay, so these are some of the things we discussed earlier, like what a protocol is, some definition, and then a browser, right? And then we talked about the difference between these two, right? Internet or web, right? It is actually, you know now what it is, right? A browser is a software package that allows access to the, not the internet, actually World Wide Web, because that is the client program, but you need internet to go there, right? Just a browser can't go. Like, that's why, like, let's say you don't have internet connectivity, open your browser and type LMS, nothing will come, right? Because there's no connectivity to send that request to the server and get back that page that you want. Okay, so that's what internet is doing a major role there, right? But internet is providing the infrastructure, but World Wide Web is what running as a, because that is, you are running, the browser is a client, and then you have to have a server, right? Some other end. So I think some of the past papers, if you look at it, I have asked, like, write down 3 browsers, right? Whatever client programs of web, right? So that, so here put, I have question mark. Yeah, you might know a few more others, right? Who can tell me another 2 web browsers that you are using other than these 3? No one only uses these 3.
So
Opera, yeah.
Internet Explorer.
IE, Internet Explorer, I said Internet Explorer is IE, but now they are called, what is this new one? Edge, no? Edge browser, yeah. Yeah, Opera is also there, right? Then there's this Apple guys, right? Sorry?
Safari.
Bing, B-I-N-G.
Bing. No, Bing is not a browser. We'll come there, right? So it's wrong answer. What is that?
So back then there was Alta Vista.
Alta Vista is also web. It's not a web browser. Alta Vista. Alta Vista is no longer now there. Alta Vista is also a web browser. Like we were not web. Sorry, I made a mistake. Sorry, it's a search engine, right? Bing is also search engine. So we'll come there later, right? But these are wrong answers. Yeah, Safari is also okay. That is for Apple people. So that's there can be. So yeah, if you have never tried other than Chrome, just try to download one of these softwares, right? And then try to use them, and probably you might be happy with, because sometimes Opera has some good features, like you can make it to read some text and things like that. Okay, Chrome also have some extensions to install, but yeah, Opera is also, there are some people like that, right? Okay. Right, so let's talk about small. I'm not going to take you like a huge history of the internet, right? But how internet has started. Actually, when US was threatened by Russia, USSR, right? So USA was, so there's a fight, right? This is where like Sputnik time. So now again, Sputnik V has come, right? So don't know whether there's another fight will happen because of the COVID vaccination, but this is not that, right? This is the space issue, right? So during that time, US wanted to have a classified project called ARPA, Advanced Research Project Agency, like they were running under Department of Defense, some project. Like this is not important for us, but they design a nice network, right? And that is called ARPA, right? And then, you know, like somewhere in early 60s, Russia was just put into pieces with other forms, right? Not putting bombs and everything, right? Politically. So because that they were put into down, and now only like still they are trying to recover and try to be a superpower, like that's where like now China and Russia are the two, like for US to give a challenge. But however, so since people who design this particular network, right, this is also a network, but it is an interconnected network. So that's what, like, now we use that term now, interconnected network is what this project is all about, right? But then that is what like ultimately end up with the internet, right? But before that, so what they did was like people who were working there, so they first initially connected only 4 computers. This is what like today, what we call the internet. It started its journey with 4 computers of 4 universities: Stanford University, University of California, Los Angeles, University of California, Santa Barbara, and University of Utah, right? These 4 universities, they interconnected, right? So it's like a network like this. This is all about the internet, right? Maybe it can be like this. Like I also don't know like how the real diagram, like probably may not like this fully connected. So you don't need, because even this link not there, still these two can communicate via this or the other way, right? So don't worry about like how they have been connected. I will not ask that. So these 4 computers were connected and they were using, so this is their internet, I would say now, because of we now learned something. So this is that internet, local internet or intranet, right? 4 computers or 4 places, actually 4 locations of US. So some distances, hundreds of kilometers, thousands of kilometers probably. And then they were using as an application. So anyone can think what sort of application they had at that time. This is, I'm talking about 1969, no? Any guess? It's called FTP, File Transfer Protocol. You can see P is there for protocol. So how to transfer a file, right, to the other end, and maybe a image file, data file, or music file, or today you can name it anything, right? This is what the protocol for that, file transfer protocol. And then they were using, so that they were quite happy. So they're exchanging files each other, right? And then next year they wanted to increase that. So looks like, and they came up with a new name for that network. They never call internet for that. They call ARPANET, right, initially. So they had about 20 computers by 1 year, right? That's how like they propagated. But then they wanted to have international connectivities. So then they invited University College London, UCL, and then Royal Radar establishment in Norway. So Norway and UK are the two countries interconnected to this network, right, separately, right? So they were running, this is what happened 1973, right? So then, okay, clear here. So it went on like that. So I will not go one by one, right? But you can see the ARPANET was standardized later on in 1983, right? With this TCP/IP suite. So then, yeah, there was a different protocols, right, to run the infrastructure, and not TCP/IP, because only about 1982 only this was introduced by those people. That's where the names I gave you, right? They have worked earlier as well, but they are the people who defined TCP/IP network as well. So with that, it is increased to 1,000. It went on like that. And then it took about like till about 1989, they had about 100,000 users using, right? And later on, this ARPANET was deactivated in 1990. And that's where like it was defined as internet, right? The term internet came with that, right? So 1990, they defined a bigger network, like there were about 100,000 plus users are using around the world, right? And then it is called internet. So I think some of the SLT dialogue, or especially SLT people who are here in the class, they can tell like when probably SLT is the first organization to connect to this, right? According to my knowledge, probably 1990 or 1991 is the year Sri Lanka or SLT has connected to the internet, right? Maybe if you know better than me, like you can update, right? If not, like you can also search and update rest of the class as well. So that is what, like as a country, like we also connected to this internet, right? But yes, I said now again, still in 1990, if I ask what sort of applications you can think of we had, right? We had the file transfer protocol. Then we had another application that is called SMTP, right? For shorten, we call email. So emails were there, right, in 1990. So even when SLT connected initially, like we were downloading email, so that some people had even some business, probably organizations might be using emails that time to send emails across the globe, or especially to US, right? But the most important discussion we had about web, it was not here. It was not even in 1990 exist, right? So no one was using web, right? Or because in 1990. So if you can remember, if you had any experience in 1990 with respect to internet, only FTP and email are the applications, right? There were some other email groups were there, and then there was like remote login, we call Telnet. So these kind of applications, but these are the main two ones. So everything changed in this year, 1991. So that is where basically World Wide Web was invented by a person called, I didn't put the names here, so his name is called Tim Berners-Lee. And he is now being called as Sir because he was given a knighthood, right? He's a European guy because he's from Switzerland. He was working at CERN. This is where the nuclear reactor, right, in Europe, right? So he developed an application called World Wide Web, where basically that client server thing I was explaining to you earlier with the second slide, right? So you have to have a client program called browser, that is called web browser, and then you have to have a server program, like draw a server like this, right? This server, and maybe like Apache or IIS, right? There are different instances like how servers can be created. So then you can put HTML content. We'll talk about that later, right? And then you can request and reply so that the web is working, right? So he invented that. It's a very simple, it's not a huge thing, but you think like it's not a very simple innovation because the whole world has changed from that, right? That's where like in 1991, this was designed, implemented by this European guy. And he wanted internet as the infrastructure because it is an application. So internet, without internet, you can't. So actually internet got a huge boost with that. You can say 1 year later, like it just became like 1 million, right? So today we are 2021, right? So almost like 30 years, right? So we have about, this is a number, like these are some statistics, 5 billion, right? So this is what happened like in 1991 invention. So you can see it's a huge work, right? But from the invention point of view, it's not a big thing, but however, it has made the whole world, like now you all were when you're doing MBAs, in 1991 who were talking about business, like, so they have a different model, how businesses are working, but now it's e-business, right? Or e-commerce, right? So that you can see a lot of things, right, have changed, like how television was running and now how video on demand was running, because we are not really watching even news now, right, on that time, but we know like maybe after the lecture, some of you all will go and check the news because see whether your area is been quarantined or not, right? Whether you can leave tomorrow to office or not. So that's like, you can see that things have been changed, right? This is like what happened to films all like, and then Netflix and those things have come up, like just, you can keep on talking, right? So that invention done, right, has changed the whole world, because that people call this is a killer application, right? It's killer means it's not like we are going to kill that, but that is the major one actually. So this is one reason why sometimes people refer internet and web as same, right? Because web is basically, because let's say 90% of the web is used, 90% of the internet is used by web users. So then we can say that's the whole thing. And that is what happened, unfortunately. That is why, so some people now can argue with me. So that is why we say it's same, right? But however, technically it's wrong, right? But that is the general public, right? When say like internet, yes, that's web, that's the same thing. But that is because today web is the main application which runs on the internet, right? But yes, of course it can change, right? Probably, let's say just for example, these days, right? We'll say video games are going to be like popular and everyone is playing, right? So then the video game usage is going to be more. So then it might be the killer application. So then might not be the web, right? But however, that is one reason why people just interchangeably use these two words, internet and web. But however, since we now studied as MBA students, and especially in my course, right? And when you're doing presentations, right, or hereafter, you should know the difference between them and use appropriately, refer which one. Okay. So these are some statistics like, okay, by the way, if you all also try to look at it, where to get these statistics. So you can do that. www.internetworldstats.com, internetworldstats.com. So when you go there, you can find these things, right? So probably you can find maybe a bit later figures there, right? So here, what I want to show here is North America. This is where the internet, this is where the internet started. And Europe, this is where the web started. And you can see this is where what? All the users are, right? Mostly, like, because that's 2.5 billion out of these others, right? So that you can see more users are from Asia, right? This is the product application developed in Europe, and the infrastructure is developed in America. So this is all about the internet and the World Wide Web, right? So if you have any doubts about these two terms, you can still ask, right? There are a few statistics pages just to show you, like, just to think here, like this is like, actually what I did was like I try to update my slides. So I just kept my old slides here as well. So that around 2009, when I was talking to the students, the Asian penetration, this is like internet penetration, right? Penetration was 20%, right? At that time, world average was 26%, because mostly the penetration is like North America is like 90s, right? Because that's where like the penetration was very high, but Asia was about 20% in 2009. Like 2013, it's increased to 31%. 2015 is 38%. 2016 is 44%, right? And 2020, Q1 to Q3 here, it's about internet 59%, right? And the world average is also like 63%. You can see here also that's not a big difference, because world average is dominated by this guy, because Asia is big, right? So you can see when Asia is going up, like the world average is also going up. But now the North America still, it's keeping 90s, its penetration. And then Asia is about 59 average, and world average is 63%. So my question is, how about Sri Lanka? Right? So this is where like we have to think as a country. Are we there? So to find these details, there are different places. Maybe Central Bank of Sri Lanka might have, or Census and Statistics Department might have, or Telecom Regulatory Commission of Sri Lanka, TRCSL, or even there's a body called ICT agency, ICTA, right? So they should be having, right? But yeah, unfortunate thing is like each of these organizations, sometimes they refer different numbers. Some are politically biased, right? Some are maybe not that very accurate, right? Last Census and Statistics, they were trying to get collected data, like whether you have a computer, whether you have connectivity and things like that. So I think 2020 or 2021 census is trying to do the next census, but because of Corona, I don't know what will happen. But if they do that proper, so then probably they might be able to tell like how many people have computers, how many people have connectivity, and then what sort of connectivity is mobile or fixed connectivity, and whether they access internet, whether they access Facebook. So all sort of data if they collect, and if they come to your home, and if you provide those right information, then we can get some statistics, right? So that is what like maybe for you all to look, or maybe if you all are thinking of doing a research project later on at the end of the MBA program. So probably you can look this aspect, because there are some people have done, but you can see very significant, but it's not easy to do overall in Sri Lanka as well. But you can give an model or the structure or framework to be developed, so that maybe someone can start implementing, like ICT agency or TRC. These organizations should be able to deploy those things. Okay, according to this internetworldstats.com, I just collected from them. They are saying Sri Lanka, we have about 7.6 million users are using, according to them. Their penetration level is 35%. So we can see we are below world average, below Asia average, right? According to them, we have 7.6 million Facebook account as well. Looks like they have the same number. So like that is like, looks like Facebook accounts, like maybe I don't know whether they have taken it from the Facebook or whether they have collected from this, because not every country has the same number, but some countries they do have the same number. Right here you can see these are two different numbers. Probably Facebook has provided that, Pakistan, right? And then probably this is the connectivity. But here I want to show with respect to them, this is where Sri Lanka. So look, Vietnam, 72%. So these are countries we have to think. Thailand, 81%, right? Taiwan is a developed country, so 90, that's all right. Singapore is okay, 87. And then Philippines, 77%. So that's where like we are very low with respect to that, right? So some of you all are going to be politicians in the next general election. So these are the things maybe you can think of, right? So that is where what to do Sri Lanka. So these are important factors, right? But however, when you do business, try to remember these things as well. So because if you are looking at certain things like, okay, we need to find a location or like things like that. So that these factors are going to be influence your decision-making process much better. It's just I put like 2 organizations, TRCSL and Census and Statistics, but of course, ICT agency and the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, because for reporting they will be also using them. Right? Okay, any questions? So when you ask questions, also I can take a break and have some water. By the way, I'll be continuing the lecture and probably about 9:30 I can finish, right? So that, yes, we have about 1 hour. But if you have any questions so far, what I have discussed with you all, any doubts or whether I have confused you all, so all these things you can come up discuss here. Or even if things are all right, you can tell me like, okay, let's move, like, okay, we are okay.
Should be all right, sir.
Should be all right. Okay, good. Because if not, I don't know, with all of them, you all are sleeping and I'm just talking to no one, right? And then I hope like, okay, good. Now, okay. So now I try my best to explain the internet, World Wide Web, the difference, what is all about internet, but still I want to expand that further discussion. So I would say this is the internet, right? So if you really want to see this in very clear way, right? Not my slides are good. So, okay. And also this picture is a bit old now. You can type on your Google submarine cable map 2019, rather than say 2019, just type 2021. So you can get the latest cable map diagram. Now, yeah, this is the world that we said, like on Earth, right? Or the global term, right? So you can see all the countries here, right? So this is actually the internet, or the internet, right? Let's take a guy here that is in Sri Lanka, another guy somewhere here, right? So if they want to speak, if they want to communicate, right? If they want to connect, to share resources, the only way we had initially in 90s, right? So we have to use some satellites up there, right? And send this signal up and then get it back, right? So there's a 200 millisecond delay, right? Because it has to go about some 13,000 kilometers up in the sky and comes back, right? So then you get it, right? That's where like we say on a satellite signal, there's always an inherent delay of 200, at least 200 millisecond delay. But remember the capacity, what we call, that is in real terms we call bandwidth, is very limited from satellites, very limited. With the today's requirements that we are doing with internet, the satellites are not the solution, right? Still satellites are there, but we are not used for computer networks or the internet communication, because today we use for some television and few other things, but not really for computer networks or internet, because their bandwidth is very limited. So then the other solutions, as you all know, like can we have Wi-Fi, right? Wi-Fi can go up to 100 meters, right? So it's not the way to go, like it is just within a building, it will be all right, right? It will not even go within Sri Lanka. So then there are some other radio signals, radio based, there are technologies are there, right? And that's some other things like WiMAX, right? And then WiMAX was there, like I think it was tried in Sri Lanka, but it was not implemented, right? It can go up to 100 kilometers, but again, not thousands of kilometers, right? some other radio links, like we have point-to-point links that is also can have few hundred kilometers, but not thousands of kilometers. So these things are not going to work. Okay, I type here Wi-Fi. So all these are failures, right? So then can we put like wires, because we know they are like copper wires, right? Copper wires, that is normal cables that we call, right? Yes, they also can't send data long distances because the cables can't carry data. So all these will fail. So only survivor here, only solution, right, is the fiber written this way or fiber ER other way, right? Fiber optics, right? Fiber optic cables. So these fiber optic cables can carry long distances, right, with terabits per second or beyond terabits, right? Not giga, terabits or beyond that, right? So huge capacities or huge bandwidth is available with them. Bandwidth, right? So that is why we are using fiber optic cable. So what you can see here in these colored lines are all are fiber optic cable. That's what we call submarine cables. So these are cables are fiber optic. And this is the map, right? So these are cables going from here to here, right? These are not one long distance like this cable. Probably I'm not the right one, but maybe it ends from here to here, right? Then there's another cable from there to probably here. There's another cable from here to here, so that you can see some are shorter distances as well, not all long distances. Some are like some distances probably will go like from here, I don't know, just like here, right? So that's, these are all fiber optic cables. These are we call submarine cables, where they are, so they are here under the seabed, right? So huge distances like thousands of kilometers, 10,000s of kilometers, right? Even 20,000s of kilometers. These big cables has to be laid under the seabed, right? And then you have to use for data. So this is how we really get internet, right? So this is actually the internet, right? So if you have ever seen, ever not seen internet, this is the internet, right? Actually speaking, so this is that internet, the world map. Okay, so let's zoom that Sri Lanka, right? This is what we are interested. So this is Sri Lanka. Okay, and you can see one of the major cables that are coming and landing to Sri Lanka is called CMEV. That is South East Asia, Middle East and Western Europe. Right, that's what CMEV stand for, Southeast Asia, Middle East, Western Europe. And 5E is a version 5 of that, right? The 5th version of that cable. That is also very huge cable. And it comes and lands to Sri Lanka. Okay. There is another cable called BBG, right? Bay of Bengal Gateway, right? Which I think about 3-4 years back that was laid, right? So these are two major cables because this is where like Dialog is involved. This is where like SLT involved, right? Here, not only Dialog. Dialog is here as well because under Axiata thing. And then I think Etisalat is also here, right? So there are CMEV3, this is an older cable, which is not huge capacity compared to CMEV5. That is also still being used in some level, but not heavily like, because that is congested because that we are using mostly CMEV5 and BBG cables. So these cables provides us a connectivity to Sri Lanka, right? And you can see some of the cables here, like I have marked here, this flag cable, where is that? cable is here, right? So that cable is never touched Sri Lanka, even though it's close to Sri Lanka. IOX cable, which is, I think it's going from Singapore to South Africa. That is also not connecting to Sri Lanka. And SAFE cable, where is that? It is here, right? That is also not going closer to Sri Lanka, hitting India, but not Sri Lanka. So if you want to be a service provider, internet service provider, so you can be one of those people and trying to get a landing. Let's say like IOX cable, like let's say it connects to Sri Lanka this way, right? Of course, there's work has to be done to make it connected. So then you can be an ISP, right? And then you can get internet bandwidth through this, because if not, like Sri Lanka is an island, like I said, satellites, the modes are not going to work to us to bring internet. So how can you be an ISP? Because even you can't give access to your clients, even Facebook or Gmail, because they are not here, they are outside of Sri Lanka. So always you need connectivity outside Sri Lanka. So that connectivity comes from this submarine cable map, right? So this is that map, the world map. So on that, Sri Lanka connects with the ISPs is what we can do. Okay. Yeah, this is another like picture. Like if you want to read more and understand more, just type on Google "CME V5" so that there's a web page. It's I think from Malaysia to France, Western Europe, right? There's a big cable. It's about like 20,000 kilometers, and you can see that these are the owners, investors, Sri Lanka Telecom, right? And then all of them, who else? Okay. Because of my mark, I can't see it here. Telecom Malaysia, right? And then Sri Lanka Telecom, Telecom Indonesia. So those are the people. Singtel, right? Are the investors. And then BBG cable, again, you can see it's about a shorter cable, 8,100 kilometers. And then Vodafone, Telecom Malaysia, Omantel, Dialog Axiata, Etisalat, Gulf, whatever, Bridge and International, whatever. So these are the investors. So they are the owners, right? So they will, so whenever any ISP, so here Sri Lanka is connecting. So let's say ISP is SLT. So when SLT connects, like SLT can be investor here, but when they use this cable, they have to pay, right? It's not free, by the way, right? So that you have to pay for this cable, and then only you can use that to go to the outside, right? So likewise, that's how like now whenever this is a hypothetical case, let's say like you are here, and let's say this is somewhere US, I can't see, like let's assume this is US, right, somewhere, and this is where like Facebook pages, just assume, right, it's not real, but it can be some other places as well, but just assume. So then in that case, to access Facebook, you have to go through these cables all the way around up to that, right? And then that's a request, and then the reply will come back, right? And then only you can see the Facebook page. So without this cable map, right, no one can access internet. That means no internet, that means no other services. If internet is down, all these cables are being damaged by some guy or some group, right? Of course, we are out of internet, everyone, right? So you're talking about having lectures now on internet, right? Doing business on internet, doing orders, and you are surviving because of the online orders. Nothing will be working because the infrastructure is not there, right? Because these are all applications that we are using, but these applications all rely on this, right? And these cable operators, different cable operators have different owners, right? As well, like CME V5 one cable, BBG cable, another operators like that. It's, Korea, Japan, and then China, as well as then from here onwards to up to US, and then this is Europe, right? And this is Middle East. So those are different cable operators. So it's just not one company, one organization. It's not USA, right? So there are so many other people involved with that. Okay, this is another diagram I show on one of the newspaper, but I just want to show you. Actually, this is about SLT, so that's I'm not again. So Dialog guys so Dialog 1 is also coming to Mount Lavinia because they are BBG cable to my knowledge, right? So any network guy who is here can update me. As I'm always welcome you to give more insight and the right data there because I'm not from the industry. But this is where I want to help. So some of the cables are coming to Mount Lavinia. That's where if you go to Mount Lavinia beach and try to see any ships are being anchored, not in that beach area because that's a prohibited area because our submarine cables are coming. Some of the cables are coming to Colombo. So that's other than the Colombo port, there will be some parts reserve where the ships are not supposed to anchor because they can damage our cables that are coming on. Just they are lying on the seabed, right? So these are the two main locations we were getting all the cables. So all just like Colombo base. This is a very good decision by landing it into Mathura, right? The CMEV 5 cable is now landing to Mathura. So let's assume Sri Lanka is a small country, so my scenario might not work, right? But just for the sake of lecture, I'm telling that. Let's say some earthquake or something happens in this area and all these cables can get damaged. That happens in some time back, I can't remember which year again, there was a big earthquake happened near Korea, right? And then most of the cables were damaged and then they were out of internet for a few days until these were repaired because these cables can get damaged, right? So these are just lying on the seabed, right? They are not mount, it's not easy work, right? As you can see here, the pictures the divers has to go and do that, right? So they were in this setting, right? If something happens, they can get damaged. So that I'm coming, my scenario here is if these cables were damaged, we can see that we are out of internet. Anyone can remember we were out of internet 6 years back, probably. I can remember the year because again, SLT or Dialog guys can remember. There was an issue our main cable was damaged at that time by a ship has anchored somehow. They have been drifted due to bad weather and somehow they have damaged our cable. And then Sri Lanka was out of internet for 3 to 5 days probably, right? So that's where so it happens today now. So next, for 4 days, if you can survive now without internet, this is also another issue, right? So that will happen, right? So let's say that my scenario here is if something happens this area, so then of course our whole internet will be out because all the cables are coming to Sri Lanka. This is we call a POP, point of presence place. So then this is a good decision. So having Mathura, but big earthquake means that we're a small country. That's what my scenario is not that good, but just to give you the insight. So next thing okay, now let's look at it all technical. I was talking, but I said how your decision making process. Now these things are how this is been how our submarine cables are landing to Sri Lanka, right? Now you are thinking of this, you have your operations in Colombo, right? This is where. So now you are thinking of a place to expand. You want to have another 2,000 jobs, right, to create, right? Because you are now looking at expansion, right? Unfortunately, not in this time period, but let's assume, right? Again, my case scenario. So then you are looking for a place to build because your whole business are more on internet because this is internet related business. Let's assume you are Alipay or some other, right? Organization operating from Sri Lanka, right? So maybe I would say this is a good area, Mathura area or Galle or Hambantota, right? So this is because you have a very big cable so that data connectivity is going to be very, very stable and good, right? And if you have a land somehow here in Mathura, close to Mathura Exchange, I think this is connecting to Mathura Exchange. That's what I don't know technical details about that SLT. So then maybe if you are closer to that area, so those areas land should be really expensive with respect to internet connectivity because they are the ones who can connect with very just simple hop straight away to that. But however, today, since we do have fiber optics cables from here to Ratnapura or Avisavella or Monaragala, right? Don't worry too much my story because just I'm trying to give you decision making process. But today, the two big ISPs, I will always take my examples with Dialog and SLT. So they have put fiber optic cables throughout the country and fully covered. So today you don't have to worry too much, like going somewhere, like due to some other geographical advantage, if you are moving, don't assume that, okay, don't know whether we are out of internet, like because of the penetration also. When I say like Western province is big, but however, that is because not many people are doing business and connecting them. But to start your business here or here or here or Mondragala, or that is all right, right? Because you can get connectivity because fiber optic cables, right? Maybe probably with one hop, you will be able to come to Mathura, right? So that's where like that's what I said, like you should have some technical update yourself, right? To make proper decision-making process as well. Okay.
So just a question.
Sure.
I remember a few years back, there was a talk of the town about Google Loon project. It's about giant internet balloons. I mean, any idea about it? So what happened? Basically, like.
Yeah, I think what Google was trying to come up on this picture, like if I go back here. So this is what the internet, right? All, by the way, this is only the submarine cables. Okay, no one asked that question. So yes, we do have, like, okay, I take India because it's a bigger place too. So there are lots of millions of cables are running here and there on the land side, right? Because there are so many cables here, but I'm showing this what it's called submarine cables, because this is where like inter-countries or intercontinental or how these things are connecting, right? Because we are islands. So then so within our country, that's what I said, like SLT Dialog has covered. So similarly, there are lots of other fiber optic cables running here and there. So then that will be all right. So that a person who are here in China, like, do they have connectivity? So like some areas might be, let's assume now a scenario where like this, which I have drawn here. So there are lots of cables, but this guy who is here, right? There are not many cables. So then they were trying to see whether, because yeah, putting cables like this, it's very expensive, right? It's a huge investment, right? On the land also, it's not easy, right? Because you have to long distances. Sorry, it's not easy. And so then they were trying to see whether they can send some balloons up, right, on the sky. And from that, you land to a known places. So this guy can connect to here, right? This is not the exact way that they were trying to do, but something like that. So this guy to get connectivity. So can we give through this balloon so that he will be connected to a point, because these balloons are moving around. But however, it was not a practical solution. They did experiments in New Zealand, right? It was not that successful, but then they chose somehow Sri Lanka. I don't know, there might be certain reasons why to choose Sri Lanka, but that also, like, I think it's only a story only, like it never happened. Only think 1 or 2 balloons went up, and that's basically couldn't do. But the idea here is just basically people who are still isolated, because if the fiber optic cables can't reach, right, that will be the issue. So some of you all might have visited Bangladesh about, like, let's say 10 years back, right? You might have seen like a lot of satellite dishes in all the buildings because they didn't have a fiber optic cable. I think this cable was not going there, right? Because they got, I think, early 2000 or late 90s, right? That's what I know. I don't know exact time period, but so that is why you can see a lot of satellite dishes were over there, because they were relying on satellite somehow to get the connectivity, or else they had to hop to India, because like they had like India was like, so this political issues also, the cables will not come from here to here. So because of that, you have to somehow find, and then that's only like submarine cable, so that it might not go reach there, because that's a long distance that no one is there to invest and do that cable. But that's why, like Sri Lanka, we were very fortunate from 1990s. I said, like we had these cables, CME V3 and CME V201 also was there. So then because of that, we didn't have much satellite stuff. Like it's like in Sri Lanka, you can't see much satellite way. Like we have this, like Dialog TV or whatever others they do have, that is for something else, but not for data. So that's what, like, to your question, like the Google Balloon is trying to cover isolated areas where connectivity, to provide connectivity, because Google wanted to have everyone connected, so that, of course, that's what Google mandate, to get everyone connected, so that, of course, with that, more and more people will come into internet. Okay. So yeah, this slide, basically I'm not going to explain now. I think we have discussed so far. So what I want to tell here is that after all these discussion, what I'm saying is internet is not web, two different things. So this is an application. This is an infrastructure. Right. That's why, like, small definition is there, TCP/IP. This is the protocol that users on the internet is TCP/IP. So any application which says it's compatible with TCP/IP, it will be running, right? You don't have to buy another protocol for that. So World Wide Web is called web, and that's protocol is being called Hypertext Transfer Protocol, HTTP, right? So I will explain that because there's a slide later. We will discuss about a little bit on HTTP, but HTTP is the protocol now. This is where, like, Tim Berners-Lee invented this HTTP protocol, right? That's what we call it, World Wide Web, or whatever, just the normal terms, right? As I said, like, email is being called SMTP. It's called Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. So always, like, this TP is there, even File Transfer Protocol, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, right? Like that, we have Hypertext Transfer Protocol, right? So this TP is sort of a common, it's a transfer thing, like one place to another. That's why network we say sharing. Okay, any questions? Okay, so then let's go to another discussion. So I'm going to discuss a scenario with you all, and then yeah, you have to again answer now. So this is where, like, my learning process starts now, right? First of all, I will draw, like, a small world, right? Yeah, this is all I'm going to draw. This is USA, it's India, Sri Lanka. Okay. Let's take this scenario, a small story, right? A person called Ravi, right? He lives in Kandy, right? Maybe here. Okay, I'll try to take a different color. So Ravi lives in Kandy. Ravi's service provider is SLT. Okay. He is using ADSL technology to connect, right? So let's say SLT is like Colombo operating, right? Okay. So this is that connectivity for him, right? That is the ADSL connection that he will be getting, right? And then we know there are submarine cables going here and there, right? Sri Lanka is somehow connected, right? So through that we can get, so let's assume this is CME V5 cable, right? Okay. So now there is a guy in Kandy. He uses SLT and ADSL, and then you know, like he has to pay to SLT 3,000 rupees per month. This is our scenario, right? Like, don't think that that is maybe wrong price. That's okay. I also don't know the real prices. What? Okay, I know the prices, but I don't want to tell, like, so whatever the packages. So this is what, and then I'm trying to tell what Ravi is going to do with that connectivity. Ravi is very not like doing so many things, right? So Ravi used to log into MBA. Let's say Ravi is one of the MBA students, MBA LMS, right? Then Ravi has a Facebook account, right? And number 3, Ravi go to Gmail. Let's assume for the time being, Facebook is here and the Gmail server is here, right? All scenarios. And also like Ravi used to watch this NDTV news channel in India, right? You just want to get India onto that. Let's assume that's all, right? He do, right? And of course, like maybe 5th one, probably he connects to Zoom and connect to the Colombo University and then LMS through that he do that MBA lectures. Okay, so this is that scenario. Now my question is, Ravi pays 3,000, right? I want to know who are the people going to get that money, like total, like from that 3,000, I will tell SLT will be getting, because he is paying to SLT. So SLT is getting, but I'm saying not all 3,000 goes to SLT. So there are other people who are going to get this money. This is what Ravi does, right? For a month, right? So just a very nice Ravi, like which he doesn't do anything else, right? So now I want you all to get involved and tell me, and we'll discuss, argue, right? So if the story or scenario is still not clear, you can ask. So it's just simple like you all, right? So you pay 3,000 rupees for the connectivity to the service provider ISP. But my question is like, who are the people getting a portion of that, right? Other than SLT. And this is what Ravi is doing, right? This is what Ravi's basic activities, not a complicated one, because then we can analyze that easily. Okay. Yes, you can start now. So as I said earlier as well, right, wrong, both answers can give, right? So whatever you feel, so that, so let's plan, start the discussion from that. Yep.
Server owners of Facebook and Gmail?
Facebook and Gmail, I will say here, Facebook and Gmail, someone said, from Ravi's money.
Yeah, so after the
For the
Gmail,
party where the SLT is paying to.
For the party, like that is a cable operator here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I will say cable operator. Right.
NDTV satellite system?
NDTV is not a satellite TV. Like I'm talking about NDTV is just a, like on the web, right? So NDTV web. If not, that's going to be a bit confusing. NDTV web. So these are cable operators, CME, V5, whatever, right? So that is right. By the way, these 3 answers are wrong, because do we pay Facebook, or like from our money, will it, like a portion will go to Facebook, Gmail, NDTV web? Really no. Anything else? Or anyone else who get that from this 3,000 rupees? Yeah, come on. Yeah, you can ask. Like I said, give the wrong answers as well, right? Learning process. Or you can see that's it. There are some. Who are those? Any guess? No? All are tired? Yeah, a few more minutes, 15 minutes. There's a known party takes some of this money. If you look at the bill, you can see that in the bill itself. Sorry?
Government.
The government.
Yeah, government taxes, right? Government as taxes. Anything else other than that? So that is also right. That is a common thing. So theoretically, these are the three, right? No one else. Yeah, yesterday in my weekend class batch, someone said like.
Other countries.
Sorry?
When we using the cables.
No, cable countries are not. Whoever cable operators up to Facebook end, right? That's what I said, cable operator. Okay, I said put S here, cable operators, right? So it's not countries are getting. These are only the cable operators. No country is going to get any money from Ravi. Okay, that's a good point you asked. Yeah, this yesterday, no, last Sunday. Sunday group said. I said okay, that is I can take it as a correct answer. TRCSL. Because SLT has to pay for his licensing and stuff like that. But yeah, so that is also we can take, right? But however, that will be included in their main money. But so even that or without that. So these are the only guys who are going to get this 3,000 portion, right? None of these people, others will be getting, right? So are you all okay with that, right? Or like if you have still any doubts, just tell me. So what I'm saying here is these are the people who are getting money, right? From this 3,000 what Ravi pays every month for his internet and web, because whatever he do, right? Because internet is just, as I told, is connectivity. Internet won't give you anything, right? Internet is connected, that's all, right? Maybe your browser says you are connected, that's all. Like to get something in, you have to have an application. So now what I'm saying here is my conclusion is with that scenario, this is like a take home message. We have two things earlier we discussed. Internet is A, my B was web. I will say this is have to pay, right, for a fee. Web is free, right? Because you don't have to pay for the web. These examples I took, right? Because MBA LMS, like of course you have paid with the money earlier, like for the MBA course fee, but however LMS, they don't charge, right? Every time you download something, whatever. Facebook, yes, you can log in at any time, right? As long as you have your data connectivity, right? You can. Gmail, yes, it has a limit, by the way, like Gmail account, like how much you can keep there. But however, yeah, you have to pay for additional, like if you're using the capacity beyond that, yes, you have to pay. But so NDTV web page, just it's like a news page. You can zoom when you are connecting. You don't have to pay, right? So you can see all these applications that are running mostly, right? You have to pay. What you have to, sorry, I made a mistake. You have, it's free. You don't have to pay. Now let's say, okay, since you're LiDARs, I can tell that maybe this is a pornographic site that you want to go there. So then you have to pay and get it, right? Because that then only like the content will be given to you. If not, like that's a difference. That's a like, or like you want to buy something, right? This is like Alipay or eBay or whatever. So then you have to pay and get it. That's e-business, right? E-transaction, right? But we are talking about general web browsing, right? Or you are going to a Google search engine, that you don't have to pay, right? So you can see web is quite different, right? So web provides us to the end users free of charge. So web has, like Google search engine has a model, right? There is a financial model, like based on ads and clicks, right? To charge, like, because whoever who provide content, they will be charging. For a browser, the user who consumes that, consumer, does not be charged, right, from that. So that's how web is running. Okay. So this is the reality, right? The web is sort of free. Internet, you have to pay, right? So now, if you are thinking of, let's say you have some 5 billion rupees, right? And you are thinking of an investment. I won't say like you should start a search engine. You should start a website, a news site, right? There are ways to earn, right? But a nice web page about car models, right? Because all our information, of course, then some people put advertisements and things so that you can earn some money, right? But then if you invest for a fiber optic cable with someone, right? And then try to put a cable and get some ISPs and ask them to use them, right? And go to give a good tariff, right? Let's say like we have more and more cables around Sri Lanka is good, so that a lot of ISPs will be coming, so that the competition will happen. Because let's say CMEV charge let's say 10 rupees per whatever MB, right? And then you say that we are charging only 8 rupees per MB, so that your ISP is getting more clients, right? And then there will be competition, so they also might have to reduce 8 or 750, whatever. So that's what, like, if we have only 1 or 2 service providers, so that will be not really good in the business, like from the user's point of view, right? But if you invest on whatever internet, you can make money, because whenever you use, you have to pay, right? Web is a quite different model. Generally for consumers, it's free, but people who come into there, they put data, so that you can charge, and there are different business models you can apply. So is that clear? With that, I will get another poll.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah, I thought you are going to ask a question. Okay, my next poll is now, since we discussed about internet, web, everything, now just trying to put a question, something like this, right? Who owns the internet? So we know there is internet, there was infrastructure, right? So what I'm asking is, who owns the internet? USA, Europe? I put China here also, like, for no reason. And China, and then I said no one, everyone. Probably I just put no idea as well. So about 50% has voted out of 50, 25 people. How about others? And more people to vote. Okay, I will end the poll now. 4, 3, 2, 1. 43 has voted out of 50 or 44. Okay, this is the results. 16% says USA. Yeah, that's where I started. No one says Europe, no one says China. 50% says no one. It's everyone's baby. 32% says everyone owns it. 2% says no idea. Just 1%. Okay. Actually speaking, Yeah, I will not give the answer straight of now, but these out of these results, I would say that the correct answer is not here, right? So that's why so someone said no idea, or like maybe I should have said no idea, like not available, right? Because yes, it is not US, but yeah, USA is kind of correct, because that's where it started, that we talked about ARPANET, and then the internet was defined there, right? I think FCC, federal something, right? That's where like it's been defined as well. So Al Gore, one of the former vice president of US, is one who took that to the Senate of the US. But however, they were not fully owning that, right? Of course, Europe and China is not like Europe. I just put there because Tim Berners-Lee. But when you say no one, yeah, you will learn about that probably not this week, because I will tell the right answer next week, right? Because we will talk about that. So there is actually an owner, right? Because without an owner, we can't proceed, right? I will tell why. No, that is what like I will ask that question to come into my topic here. So probably another 5-10 minutes I will take and then finish it off. Now, if I say this is the internet, let's assume now this is the big internet, right? So it is the internet, the global thing, right? This is one thing like you have to remember. To exist on this, right, you have to have a unique ID, right? So that is important. Like now they say this is Facebook. Facebook has to be uniquely identifiable. There has to be, that is why we call an address, right? That like you, now you are at home, right? So you are here. Let's assume this is in the world map. I am here. So I have a unique address because I have my home number, street, and whatever town. Similarly, you was like, similarly, to exist on this world as well, internet world, you have to have an address, unique address that has to be, and that unique address is we call an IP address, right? So IP address is called internet protocol address, which is a unique number assigned to each device connected to the computer network, that is internet, and that uses internet protocol, that is TCP/IP, right, for communication. So this is the TCP/IP network. In the TCP/IP network, to exist, now you are connected to this because you have an IP address from your ISP. That is how you connect to this Zoom session, right? If that IP goes off, that's where like you say, I was disconnected, so I am now connecting again, right? And this time I was like earlier, I was having some problem. Now I'm better because probably you were connected with better connectivity or whatever, so that with the ISP, right? And you were assigned. And however, yeah, whenever now we have 50 people here connected. So all of you all have 50 unique IP addresses. And I also have a unique IP because I am also on the internet. Now after 9:30, I'll be shutting off my computer, right? And then I'm going to take my dinner. So then, of course, I am not there, right? My computer won't be there. So this IP can be assigned to Mr. Nimal, right? Who will be connecting from Maharagama, right? Because I am at Vattala now, right? So Maharagama. So that can be happen, like how the, it's really not that way, but just assume, right? Because there's a way like how the service providers are organizing that. But however, the scenario is like that. So given at a point you have to use, but if it is a server, I said server has to be 24/7. So it will be keep on using that IP. For us as end users, we don't have to use throughout. So this is important thing. Remember IP address. So IP address is a unique thing. And as I told you, the computers can understand only ones and zeros. It's binary, right? When the TCP IP model was designed in 1982, right? Remember I talked about history. They assigned 32 bits to represent the IP address, right? So they assigned or they used 32 bits to have the IP address. So now I will take grade 10 maths and then try to finish it off the lecture. So if there are 32 bits, right, available, how many unique numbers you can create from 32 bits? Who can tell me the right answer? Remember, these are binary, right? Yeah. It will be 2 to the power 32. So really, when you look this number, this is like 4.09 billion. So what I can say here is this internet, what we say the global internet, the biggest interconnected network, can have maximum of 4 billion users. I will not take 09, 4 billion users at a given time. That is a limitation, right? If you can remember one of the slides when I was talking about the history of the internet, I said there are about 5 billion users are using internet. So now there's a contradictory. But that I was telling like total number of users. That's why like even 50 of you and myself are users, but after 9:30 we are not going to be users. We are just going away from the connectivity. We disconnect from the internet, right? As well as we shut down our computer. So then, so that the computer need not to have an IP address. Okay. So that's, don't confuse yourself. That is one story. So this is at a given time, only 4 billion users can exist on the internet. Okay. Only 4 billion. So this is a very important number because 32 bits was given in 1982. But this is an issue. We know there are 7 billion population we have on Earth. So that means not all the people will be able to connect. So in some way, this is what people call digital divide. Digital divide, right? That is because people who have money can access internet, people who do not have money, because this is expensive, right? So this IP address is not free. Actually, with our connectivity, there is a charge for that. That's why like you didn't know to give that answer at that time, right? That's why like I said SLT and just I finish it off because SLT has to pay not only to the cable operators, SLT has to pay for IP addresses as well. Right? So now you can understand if IP addresses are that important. So if it is, no one is controlling this, how can you control these IP addresses? Because only 4 billion. So scarcity is there, right? This 4 billion addresses has to be controlled. Okay. So because of that, remember, there is a owner, right? So there is a owner, right? So it's not US, it's not someone like what I have put there, so that I will tell next week the name that we will understand that as well. So I hope you understood there are 4 billion IP addresses are here. And so this is in a way a problem that creates from 1982. So this 1982 has created us a problem, that is the scarcity of IP addresses. I will talk about that. That's where like my next bullet, which is about to come here, right? What is IPv6? Because whatever the version that we are using and under TCP IP, so there is a version called IPv4. That is what we are using now, right? But that is what has this 4 billion issue, right? So now we have to come up with a new IP address that is called IPv6. I'll talk about that next week. from there. So this is like, you should understand the difference between IPv4 and IPv6. It's very, very important for decision making and to your businesses, right, as well in the future, right? I will tell those things as well. So we will continue from here onwards next week. So that is where like IPv6 side, and then probably just for the time being, I have just explained only IP version 4, which is the 4 billion, which has about 32 bits, right, reserved for the IP address representation. Okay, so any questions I can take. So I will not continue beyond here, but if you have any specific questions you can ask, I can answer.
The idea is clear, sir.
Good, good.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right.
Yes,
Then, I will wind up the session for today, right? So we'll meet next week the same time.
Thank you very much, sir.
Good night.
Thank you. Good
Thank you
night.
very much.